Good morning, gorgeous. This morning I'm sitting here in headquarters and I'm preparing for my clinic day, and I'm going through DASM DUTCH test results of a beautiful 52-year-old patient in my clinic. I just want to show you how important it is to differentiate between perimenopause and menopause. I'm here to tell you that perimenopause is not menopause, and the treatment needs to be different, and it needs to be significantly different. The patient that I'm seeing has come in and her problems are the following. Not only has she got eczema and itchy skin, and it feels like she's allergic to everything, so she feels like she has hay fever all the time, which tells me that there must be high histamine in the gastrointestinal tract. And remember that high histamine in the gastrointestinal tract can be exacerbated by high estrogen, right? And what else did she experience? So she has irregular periods. Let me just quickly go to the list of, here we go. So she's having irregular periods. She's having premenstrual symptom that is off the charts. She said she used to get a little bit of PMS as a younger woman, but now it's going nuts. She's gaining weight, or she's not able to lose weight. She's just not able to get to this comfortable place without changing the way she is moving or the way she is eating. So that needs to be a clue straight away that the hormonal weight gain or the difficulty in losing weight is not about calories in, calories out. It is not about move more, eat less. It is hormonal. We've got to look at cortisol and melatonin. We have to look at insulin, and we have to look at estrogen and progesterone for perimenopausal weight loss. Right, so she's got the irregular periods, the PMS, the weight gain, fatigue, and decreased libido. She also has anxiety that has come out of nowhere. At 52 years old, she's never been anxious before, and suddenly she's got this anxiety that it's coming out of nowhere, and she cannot sleep. So what I want to tell you, and this is so important, so please hear me, and I'm going to repeat it. Perimenopause is not menopause, and the treatment needs to be different. This woman is still cycling. The cycles are irregular, and yes, they may be anovulatory because that's what happens in perimenopause. However, she's still making some progesterone, and she's certainly making estrogen. I'm going to tell you something at the end that is going to show such negligent care in our modern day medical system when it comes to perimenopausal women. So bear with me, right? The other thing that I want you to know is that progesterone goes MIA first. She goes missing in action. I am here to tell you that progesterone is cool, calm, collected, right? Progesterone sleeps. She's anti-anxiety. Progesterone has got your back. Say, for example, we're out for a cuppa and I'm progesterone and you're you and we're with estrogen, right? When we have estrogen dominant signs and symptoms, progesterone usually keeps estrogen in check. So progesterone will say to her, hey, don't talk to her like that. I think she needs a little more respect. But estrogen in excess is very badly behaved. She's very moody. She's uncomfortable in her own skin. She is itchy. She can exacerbate histamine and MCAS, which is mast cell activation syndrome. She slams the door on the way out. She is aggro. She doesn't want to make love. She is not in that place, right? Whereas progesterone has totally got your back. Progesterone is cool, she's calm, she's collected, she's the body composition hormone. I'll show you something. I go anywhere between a size 10 and a size 12. I know this is a very bad angle, but even if I'm in a size 10 and my progesterone is not 100 to 200 times higher than my estrogen in a cycle, I have got more middle banding and more tuck-shop arms than I do in a bigger size. So it doesn't matter what the size you are, it matters whether your hormones are in balance with one another, right? So progesterone needs to be 100 to 200 times higher every single cycle than estrogen. So that middle banding, that can be an estrogen excess presentation. Those mood swings, excess estrogen presentation, particularly in women that are still cycling in perimenopause. The fatigue can be an estrogen excess presentation. Of course, we need to check everything. We need to check iron, we need to check thyroid, but I just want to show you how powerful progesterone can be. So when we have those ovulatory cycles, when we make progesterone and we're making enough progesterone, we're cool, we're calm, we're collected, we don't have that middle banding, we have more of a body composition we have that hourglass shape, right? If you've lost your hourglass shape and you're becoming square and you've got that additional banding around the middle, estrogen excess and cortisol, and they need to be looked at. So those are the signs and symptoms she's experiencing. I'm here to tell you that irregular periods, mood changes, sleep disturbances, anxiety, changes in libido, and fatigue can absolutely be a progesterone deficiency. We did a Dutch test for her. Let's have a look at her Dutch test results. I'm here to tell you that her progesterone was rock bottom, right? This is a 52-year-old woman whose progesterone is rock bottom. I'm also here to tell you that her estrogen was off the charts. Her estrogen was extremely high. So what do you think is causing her symptoms? I'm going to show you these results. I've hidden her name. Have a look at those results. Have a look at that progesterone level. It is rock bottom. And have a look at that estrogen. It is out of control. So what is causing her symptoms is an estrogen excess presentation. And you are not going to believe what I'm going to say next. Her GP, in order to correct her symptoms, has put her on estrogen, right? He has given her estrogen, which is exacerbating her symptoms, and he hasn't given her progesterone as well. All right. And you know what he said to her about perimenopause? We actually don't know what happens, but you definitely need estrogen to sort these symptoms out. She's still anxious. She still can't sleep, right? And guess what? She's got major middle banding around the middle. She has an incredibly out of balance estrogen and progesterone ratio. Yes, absolutely. I would love to see you in clinic. Yeah, I'm in Brunswick. The clinic is in Brunswick, so you're close. You're really close. www.thehollandclinic.com. Appointments, Chaos to Calm is the initial consultation. It's a really great place to start. But I am so furious. This is negligent care, and it is deleterious to women's health, because the thing that I'm going to show you next is how she detoxifies her estrogen. She's currently detoxifying the majority of her estrogen, which she is exacerbating down a very dangerous pathway. There are 3 pathways with regards to estrogen detoxification. The 2-hydroxy pathway, oh excellent, I would be delighted to see you there. The 2-hydroxy pathway, the 4-hydroxy pathway, and the 16-hydroxy pathway. Guess what? She also has fibrocystic breast tissue. She is detoxifying 40.1% of her estrogen down the 16-hydroxy pathway. When you are detoxifying your estrogen down the 16-hydroxy pathway, you have a predisposition for fibrocystic breast tissue, polyps, estrogen type of growth in the endometrial lining. So this is endometriosis we can see with this sort of thing here. Because endometriosis is estrogen, it's an estrogen dominant presentation most of the time with a progesterone deficiency, as well as an autoimmune component, which is happening to this beautiful woman in my patient as well, in my clinic, this gorgeous 52-year-old woman. We actually did her thyroid tests. We did a thorough thyroid because she'd never had that done before. And it turns out that she actually has Hashimoto's thyroiditis and an autoimmune condition, which is exacerbating the histamine symptoms and the allergy too. So it's quite complicated, right? But it doesn't have to be super complex if your doctor knows what to look for and which tests to order. So I just want to show you here that she is detoxifying the estrogen down a very dangerous pathway, and her GP has prescribed estrogen for her without testing her hormones beforehand. That is negligent. She's perimenopausal. We cannot guess that she hasn't got enough estrogen. And don't forget, you cannot only test estrogen in a blood test, because estrogen goes into the tissue. You need to test estrogen through something like a urine metabolite test, so that you can see the holistic picture of estrogen, not just the blood plasma levels of estrogen on that particular day. I think it's a great idea to do blood tests too. You need to do estrogen, and you need to do testosterone and sex hormone binding globulin between day 1 and day 3. You need to do progesterone between day 19 and 22. So the Dutch Complete Test is the one that I recommend. I know it is an investment, but believe me, this gives you a 3-dimensional look in to your hormones. And this could be the difference between you having estrogen excess symptoms and being on the wrong medication for 10 to 15 years and thinking that the problem is you. It is absolutely crazy. I know that they are so reluctant. I know. I think that's negligent care. I really do. So let me show you how she's detoxifying her estrogen. Okay, so I'm going to show you If you have a look at this pie chart over here, the patient is detoxifying, let me just see if you can see it properly. She's detoxifying 54% of her estrogen down the beneficial pathway. Unfortunately, she's detoxifying 5.1% of the estrogen down the cancerous pathway. So this is where we damage RNA and DNA. And like I said, you can see how high the estrogens are. And the medication she's been given is estrogen. She's also detoxifying 40.1% of her estrogen down the 16-hydroxy pathway, which is proliferative and causes things like fibrocystic breast tissue and fibrous growths, polyps and fibrous tissue in the uterine lining. The other thing that is happening for her, according to the Dutch, let me just make sure that you can still see, is I'm on patches and I'm 14 days away from getting my period and my breasts are so sensitive and bumpy all of a sudden. Yeah, that sounds like an estrogen excess presentation. Yeah, but you know what? Let's not guess. Let's test. Let's have the science in front of us, and then let's make decisions about the medication that we decide to choose to use, the medication that feels right for us. This is a very individualized choice, but I'm here to tell you that perimenopause is not menopause. So it is not, we do not need to assume that estrogen is low and that estrogen is causing the symptoms. Look, estrogen gets vilified. Estrogen is important for bone, brain, mood health, all of those things. And of course, if you're somebody in your fertile years still, estrogen is really important for that. But it is absolutely crazy to just assume that a woman is estrogen deficient because she's 52 years old when she's still cycling and producing progesterone. Don't forget that high stress levels and a high cortisol will also interrupt your ability to produce progesterone, right? Because we have to choose. The body doesn't choose vitality. The body chooses you to stay alive, right? So if you're producing lots of cortisol, your body goes, oh, hang on a minute, right, I'm in a war zone. It's not a good time to have a baby. So I'm not going to produce as much progesterone. I'll just produce the cortisol to keep her alive so that she can run for her life and fight for her life. Unfortunately, that ends in she's produced so much cortisol, she's exhausted and burnt out, and now all she can do is roll over and play dead. So we really need to nourish and nurture our beautiful adrenals. They are doing so much at this time. So the other thing that I wanted to say to you about this beautiful patient of mine is her methylation activity is really low. Methylation is really important for energy levels and detoxification, so we're going to work on that with beautiful activated Bs with L-methyl tetrahydrofolate, a gorgeous magnesium, some B6 because she's actually deficient in the B6. Her creatine is actually within range, which is fantastic. Creatine is imperative for muscle mass and preventing sarcopenia in perimenopausal women. And her cortisol is all over the place. But that is definitely showing one of the reasons why the progesterone is so low. She could definitely do with some melatonin support. I use plant-based melatonin in my clinic and I absolutely love it. How do you care for my adrenals? There's so many different ways to care for your adrenals. Of course, all of the lifestyle factors. However, one of my favorites on the planet is B5. B5 nourishes and nurtures and hugs those adrenals. It can actually decrease hot flushing and flushes in women, in perimenopausal women, and it also treats mum and relationship aggro. So it is a very helpful one. There's some incredible adrenal formulas. Withania is wonderful. Quite often when there's lots of stress, if my patients are extremely stressed and wired, I give them Withania, but if they're stressed and tired, I use rhodiola. Hopefully that helps you. She's also producing more cortisone than she is cortisol, and she certainly doesn't have a beautiful diurnal pattern of cortisol. So in actual fact, we really do need to have cortisol that comes up in the morning so we can jump out of bed, stays high, and then starts to go low at night. Her cortisol is actually a little too high at night, so that's why her melatonin is low. So I'm just here to tell you, the main thing that I wanted to tell you was that perimenopause is not menopause, and we cannot just give women estrogen willy-nilly without testing, because in this beautiful woman, she was given estrogen and it was in fact exacerbating her symptoms. There was no testing whatsoever. Her B12 was in range, her B6 was within range. Unfortunately, her pyroglutamate was at the low end of the range, showing that her glutathione markers, her endogenous detoxification molecule, way too low. So we're working on that. We're working on increasing her detoxification capacity. Her gut marker was within range, but there is a little bit of work to do on the gut because of the high histamine and the MCAS. and her dopamine was on the low end too. So we're working on lifestyle and dietary modifications, and we're working with beautiful botanical, nutritional, and psychobiotic medication, which has the proof behind it. I'm a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine, I'm a naturopath, I'm a functional medical practitioner, and a practitioner of environmental and nutritional med. And I'm here to tell you that perimenopause is not menopause. Oh my goodness. Her melatonin was 37, and the reference range is somewhere between 10 and 85. And her oxidative stress was a little high. Oxidative stress is absolutely her oxidative stress marker. We certainly need to get those polyphenols into our bodies. We need to get 3 cups of green veggies, 1 cup of color veggies, and we absolutely in perimenopause need to be eating 1 gram per kilogram of ideal body weight of protein daily. If you've got insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome, please start your day with protein too. Okay, that's my rant about the fact that perimenopause is not menopause. Take it easy. Have a beautiful day.